Section B, Phrases and Objects.
So there we have it, the simple sentence. And although we think simple sentences are great, you have to admit that our writing would be pretty boring without some variety in sentence structure. But before we go on, we have to stop and learn a couple new terms, phrases and objects.
A phrase is a group of words that is not a sentence and that may contain either a subject or a predicate, but not both. They're somewhere in between words and sentences.
Suppose we say, Boppo, that crazy monkey, will not stop jumping on my bed. This sentence has many of those phrase thingies. Let's take a look. First, we can isolate that crazy monkey as a group of closely related words within the sentence. This one is called an appositive phrase. Now, this is not a positive phrase like way to go. This is an appositive phrase, which is different.
An appositive phrase is a descriptive phrase that either restates a noun or pronoun in a sentence or adds new information about it. In our sentence, Boppo, that crazy monkey, will not stop jumping on my bed, the appositive phrase, that crazy monkey, is just another way of saying Boppo, the simple subject of our sentence. Appositives are a great way to elaborate on a vague subject like we do here, because if we didn't use the appositive phrase, that crazy monkey, we might think Boppo was a cat, or a German shepherd, or a tax lawyer.
We can also treat the predicate itself as a phrase, which we would call a verb phrase. As you've probably already guessed in Boppo, that crazy monkey will not stop jumping on my bed, our verb phrase will be, will not stop jumping on my bed.
Sometimes we will even find phrases within other phrases. In the verb phrase, will not stop jumping on my bed, we can identify the smaller phrase, on my bed. Since this phrase is centered around the word on, which is a preposition, we call this a prepositional phrase. That makes sense.
So a phrase is really just a group of closely related words in a sentence that can have a subject or a predicate, but not both. There are lots of different kinds of phrases. The ones we've discussed are positive phrases, verb phrases, and prepositional phrases.
The second term we need to nail down before delving into compound and complex sentences is objects. An object is a noun that is not the simple subject itself, but is instead a part of the predicate or part of the subject phrase. There are a couple of exceptions, but we'll get to those after we discuss some of the different kinds of objects. Let's see what kinds of objects we can identify in this sentence.
Carmen is giving the filthy llama a bath in her backyard. The nouns in this sentence are Carmen, llama, bath, and backyard.
We know that Carmen is the simple subject of the sentence because she's the one doing the action, in this case giving a bath. That makes the rest of our non-subject nouns, llama, bath, and backyard, objects.
Back to our sentence. Carmen is giving the filthy llama a bath in her backyard. First, let's look at bath. In this sentence, bath is what is known as a direct object, or the noun that receives the action of the verb. The direct object of a sentence answers the question who or what. In this case, what is Carmen giving? The answer is a bath.
So, a noun that receives the action of the verb is called the direct object. Another kind of object we see in this sentence is an indirect object. While the direct object answers the question who or what, the indirect object answers the question to or for whom or to or for what. In our sentence, when we ask, to what is Carmen giving a bath? The answer is the filthy llama. So, llama is the indirect object of our sentence.
Let's recap. The direct object of a sentence will answer the question who or what receives the action of the verb, while an indirect object answers the question to or for whom or to or for what.
Let's look at our sentence again. Carmen is giving the filthy llama a bath in her backyard. We know that Carmen is the subject, and we've just learned that bath is the direct object and llama is the indirect object. The last noun on our list is backyard. Remember when we were talking about phrases and we discovered that a preposition can have its own phrase. When we look back at our sentence, we see that backyard is part of the prepositional phrase in her backyard. Backyard is a noun, but since it doesn't perform any action, it's an object. It comes after the preposition in, so we'll call it the object of the preposition.
There are other kinds of objects, but direct and indirect objects and objects of the preposition are the ones you'll encounter the most when reading and writing.
So we now know that an object is any noun in a sentence that is not the simple subject. Remember we said there are a couple of exceptions? Here they are: predicate nominatives, nouns of direct address, and appositives. We'll take them one at a time.
Check out this sentence. George is a giraffe. Let's identify the simple subject first. That's fairly easy. George. Now it seems like giraffe might be an object. In fact, we may be inclined to call it the direct object because it answers the question, what is George?
Well, not so fast. We need to look at our verb. George is a giraffe is our sentence, so the verb is. As we remember, is a form of the verb to be.
Now, here's the important part. When the verb is what we call a linking verb, we call non-subject nouns or pronouns the predicate nominative.
Hey, settle. We'll take each term one at a time.
Linking verb. This is a verb that just sort of is. It links a subject to something else in the sentence. Common linking verbs are to be, to become, and to remain.
Non-subject noun. This is a noun in the sentence that doesn't perform any action. That means it's not the subject, so it's the non-subject noun.
A predicate nominative is a noun or pronoun that follows a linking verb and renames or identifies the subject of the sentence.
Let's see how all this fits in with our sentence. George is a giraffe. George is our subject. We've established that. Next, is. Okay, this is our linking verb. What does it link? It links our subject, George, with the other noun, giraffe. Giraffe renames what George is. This makes giraffe the infamous predicate nominative.
Easy peasy, kick you in the kneesy. Let's try another sentence.
Reginald, your club sandwich is getting cold. At first, we may want to say Reginald is the simple subject, but that's not true since he is not the one getting cold. The sandwich is. Well then, what exactly is Reginald, you may ask? We call this a noun of direct address since he is the one we're talking to. We're addressing Reginald. Quite a mouthful.
The last exception we're going to talk about is called an appositive. We mentioned appositives earlier in the section on phrases. An appositive is a noun that restates the subject of the sentence. Look at this sentence.
Olivia, my favorite houseplant, grew 1/18 of an inch today. At first, this sentence seems to have two simple subjects, Olivia and houseplant, but that's not really how it works. Olivia is our simple subject because, well, it comes first, leaving houseplant as our appositive since it's just restating the noun, Olivia.
Let's review a bit. Simple sentences. All the elements of simple sentences are either part of the subject or part of the predicate.
A phrase is a group of words that contains either a subject or a predicate, but not both. A phrase is not a sentence, no matter how hard it tries to be.
An appositive phrase restates the simple subject of a sentence or adds new information to it.
An object is a noun that is not the simple subject of a sentence itself, but is either part of the predicate or the subject phrase. There are two types of objects, direct objects and indirect objects. A direct object receives the action of the sentence and often answers the question, who or what. An indirect object explains who or what the action of the sentence was done for. Thus, it answers the questions to or for whom, or to or for what.
Now we're ready to look at how we can use these to build bigger, brighter, shinier sentences, the compound and the complex. Don't let the names scare you. Let's try compound sentences.